watching the station covering all of the DMV. This is DC News Now.
And thank you for joining us for DC News Now. I'm Mark Hall.
And I'm Tosin Fakile. It is another hot day across the DMV.
Okay, let's take a live look right now at the Washington Monument. You can see it is another hot day in the region. Monument closed today and tomorrow because of the extreme heat.
Let's send things over to meteorologist Damon Matson for a first look at our forecast. And looking at those temperatures behind you is no doubt it is warm today.
Oh, it is just that hot out there, Tosin and Mark. I mean, you get to certain levels of heat where you're like, okay, this is enough. We can back off. And we're already at that point here to start the week. And there you have it. Those temperatures, they have made it to the lower and middle 90s. DC right there at 93. We do have a few locations, Frederick, Waldorf, Westminster up to 95. And as you head back even farther to the west, only Winchester is in the upper 80s. Annapolis, the only place to the east in the upper 80s. Now, that's just the air temp. There is still a decent amount of mugginess in the air, and that has pushed that feels like temp, the heat index, into the upper 90s. And some of us are feeling like the triple digits. And it's not going to change as we wrap up the day. Plenty of heat, plenty of humidity, driven by this sunshine that has been abundant. So if it wasn't for the heat, it would be an otherwise beautiful day out there. But nonetheless, as we head toward the end of July, it doesn't look like this heat and humidity is going to come to an end. Now, how hot will it get over the next few days? And in the extended forecast, could we finally see some relief? We'll have a full look at your forecast here coming up in just a bit.
All right, Damon, we'll check in with you soon. We head to the district where DC Council is preparing to take its second and final vote on the 2026 budget.
And that budget filled, at least the process, filled with tension and controversy as many feel that congressional interference led to months of delays.
And DC News Now's Marielle Carbone live at the Wilson building with the latest. Marielle, what can you tell us?
Well, Tosin and Mark, we're still waiting on the official vote on the budget. Council is in the meeting room discussing it and picking through it. But much like the rest of this process, today is not without controversy, as the chairman says that council is being forced to cut $30 million out of the budget just today. So some background on this. The chairman says that the chief financial officer stated that he needed $244 million set aside to cover overspending. Now, that is nearly $30 million more than previously estimated. The CFO says he won't certify the budget as balanced if they don't set aside this money. So in order to do this, council is now cutting $29 million. $10 million of that will come from the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, another $1.5 million from the Early Childhood Pay Equity Fund, $1 million from public charter schools for lead pipe testing, and just so on with other ticket items down the list. Council is arguing that it is being forced to leave this $244 million on the table unspent, and they say the CFO doesn't have the authority to do this.
I consider this acquiescence an erosion of our legislative authority, which cannot stand.
This is about a fundamental authority of this council as the appropriating body. The CFO's job is to control spending within our approved budget, and that didn't happen. And now the residents of the district will suffer the consequences.
Yeah, so these cuts are leading to some tense discussions in the meeting room. Again, we're still waiting on the final vote, so it could be quite a while. But I know you can see a lot of people in the hallway behind me, and because that is because there are so many more big items that will be discussed through this budget process. Part of that, I-82, which we've been covering, that's the tipped minimum wage. People are here waiting to see if council is going to freeze that and reverse that I-82, which is a pay increase for tipped workers. Another part that they're looking to hear more on is Initiative 83, which is ranked choice voting, and seeing if council will leave funding for that in the budget. So we're going to head back in there, and of course we'll update you as we learn more and eventually get to that final vote here later this evening. That's the latest from the Wilson building. Reporting live, I'm Marielle Carbone, DC News Now.
All right, Marielle, we know you're going to bring us the latest. We'll check in with you at 5 o'clock. Thank you. Developing now, a 22-year-old charged today after a man was found stabbed to death in Southwest D.C. The stabbing happened early Saturday morning on Galveston Street. Police say they found 63-year-old Robert Dent with stab wounds, not conscious or breathing. They say he died on the scene despite life-saving efforts. Anna Heyman has been charged with second-degree murder while armed. Police say the incident was domestic. A tense scene in Baltimore today. A group of Maryland lawmakers, including Congressman Glenn Ivey, say they were blocked from entering an ICE detention facility during an official oversight visit. The group planned to inspect conditions and speak with detainees at George H. Fallon Federal Building, but were denied access.
This is unbelievable that they would turn us away from this building here in the United States, members of Congress with the right to go see our constituents.
Now, under federal law, members of Congress are allowed to visit such facilities without giving prior notice. Lawmakers say the denial raises serious concerns about transparency and accountability within the agency. DC News Now reached out to ICE for comment. So far, we haven't heard back.
Well, new this afternoon, Virginia Task Force 1 is back home after working search and recovery missions following the floods in Texas, killing more than 130 people. Crews from Fairfax County went down to the areas impacted by the floods earlier this month, and they just returned home hours ago. We find DC News Now's Randy Bass live at their home base in Chantilly this afternoon with more on their mission. Randy.
Yes, special handlers and human remains detection canines went from Virginia Task Force 1 to Texas to search tough terrain each day for more than 2 weeks, working to find victims.
Virginia's highly trained Task Force 1 searching through debris and riverbeds along the hardest hit areas of Central Texas, including canine specialist Christy and human remains detection dog Athena.
When you're searching 60 miles of shoreline, you're like, okay, I'm trying to find a needle in the haystack. But every day we're still giving it our all, really searching and gritting out our areas.
4 Virginia crew members and 3 dogs went to work in Central Texas on July 11th. Their goal, recovering remains of those still missing. Charlotte and remains detection dog Ivy have been paired up on past deployments.
You still get surprised when you get there at the amount of devastation that there actually was.
This time working 12+ hour days, sniffing and searching through debris and floodwater in the Texas heat.
And we just keep working. We want to keep working until every last person has been brought home.
We're definitely focused on the mission, just trying to make sure that we bring closure for everybody, for loved ones.
And now that they're back home in Virginia,
we're definitely tired. We want to get our life back to normal, but also do more training so when the next disaster happens, that she's ready to go back out the door.
While 10-year-old canine Athena may have more missions ahead, 11-year-old canine Ivy is a little bit older. Her handler says this may have been her last mission before she heads into retirement. In Chantilly, I'm Randy Bass, DC News Now.
Making a difference there. Randy, thank you for that report. A Northern Virginia Circuit Court judge has ruled a recorded interview of the child of an IRS agent charged with killing his wife and another man cannot be used in court. Brendan Banfield is accused of murdering his wife and mother of his child in their Herndon home in February 2023, and also charged in the death of another man who was at the house that day. Investigators say their daughter was at home at the time of the killings. Her father indicted with child abuse and felony child cruelty in connection with the case. The judge says the interview is inadmissible because the daughter was not directly victimized by the parent, and the ruling also says the interview was not based off child abuse related charges, but what the judge believed was happening the morning of her mother's murder. This investigation is ongoing.
Because of all the heavy rain that we've had in our area, local water officials say that they may need to release wastewater into the Anacostia River. According to WSSC Water, there's the potential for this controlled emergency sewage overflow and its Anacostia wastewater pumping station in Capitol Heights. Right now, officials say as long as it doesn't rain over the next few days, it should be okay. The idea is to prevent sewage from overflowing into the streets and residential areas. Officials emphasize that the local drinking water systems would not be impacted by the overflow.
Stopping or parking in bike lanes.
There's a push to protect bicyclists in Montgomery County after officials say nearly 6 crashes have involved people on bikes. Part of the problem, drivers using bike lanes. DC News Now's Kevon Dupree covers Montgomery County for us. He tells us about the effort that some feel is overdue.
Montgomery County Council member Evan Glass says there have been 59 cyclist-involved accidents since January. One of them was deadly. Now he plans to introduce legislation to keep cyclists safe.
We need to make sure that our roads are safe for everybody.
Montgomery County Councilmember Evan Glass proposing a bill to keep vehicles from standing, stopping, or parking in bike lanes is something cyclists say is needed.
Blocked bike lanes force cyclists to move into car traffic lanes, thus negating the very purpose of those bike lanes.
For some, there have been a number of close encounters.
On one occasion, a FedEx truck pulled into the bike lane as I was coming and didn't even check. I had to brake very hard to avoid colliding into the truck.
Daniel Langenkamp's wife Sarah died in 2022 after a truck hit her bike.
There are lots of people that would like to use bike lanes, but they can't because cars and trucks regularly park in the street, in the bike lane, keeping people from using those bike lanes safely.
What this legislation will do is allow everybody who sees an obstruction to call 311 to contact the Department of Transportation immediately, and so the department and agencies can then deploy individuals to make sure that that blockage is fixed.
Glass will introduce his bike safety bill during Tuesday's council meeting. In Montgomery County, I'm Kevon Dupree, DC News Now.